Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Angie and I passed a CPA exam in 2023 and I would like to go over some little tips I have for passing FAR. And as you know, FAR is the financial section of the CPA exam. This was how thick my book was. As you can see, very thick book, and it has a lot of information in it. So I'm going to discuss some tips for getting through this book and your study habits. I also want to talk about if you should take FAR first, or should you take auditing, tax, or one of the other required exams. So the only reason I say you should take FAR first is because of how much study material you have. Your clock starts ticking once you pass your first exam. So if it takes you 6 months, 7 months to get through this book and all the review material, that time does not count. So it's going to start counting once you pass your first exam. That is why I suggest you take FAR first, because of how much material there is to get through. If you are really against taking FAR first, the other one I recommend is auditing. Just because, and from what I've read from other people, a lot of other people, is auditing can give you a lot more problems than, say, regulation or your other discipline. Now, I'll compare the book size. I'm going to put auditing beside reg. Okay, that's a big difference. That's a big difference. And so it's really your decision, but I suggest financial first, because your timer does not start until you pass your first exam. So if it took you 6 months to study and get through the study material, you take your exam, you wait on your test scores, and they come back that you did not pass. Well, your clock is still not started yet. So you can just start studying again, and when you feel comfortable, then you can sign up to take the test again. If for some reason you go ahead and take the tax exam and you pass it, your clock is started. So now you decide to start studying financial. You study. It took you, let's say, 4 or 5 months. Now you're ready to sit for it, and then you don't pass. Well, your clock started already because you passed tax. So when I was doing this, we had 18 months from the first pass that we had. Now most states, I believe, have 30 months. So that is a good thing. So now you have a little bit more leeway on deciding which exam to take first. So that's just my suggestion. I don't say take FAR first because it's harder, because in my opinion it was not harder. It was actually one of the easier ones, because I had experience doing regular client accounting, and a lot of this has to do with, you know, bookkeeping, accounting, financial statements, and that's what I was used to. Now auditing was a little harder for me because I wasn't up to date on all the auditing techniques and all the definitions and things that are very weird when it comes to auditing. When I say weird, I mean just some of the names they use, like unmodified opinion, modified opinion. Instead of you passed your audit, you know, it's an unmodified opinion. So things like that, but it's totally up to you. And now that you all have about 30 months to pass all 4, then you have a little bit more to play with. So I would like to talk about the things I did to help me study in FAR. As you can see, this book comes in, it's not a hardback book. It is, you know, kind of flimsy, but it is really heavy. And the very first thing they give you in the book is kind of like your index of what pages have what information. They had 10 different what I'm going to call chapters. Within each chapter, you had modules. I would just call them subchapters. So for example, in chapter 1, there were 8 subchapters, or what they call modules. And at the top of the page, on the first module, on the first chapter, you're going to see it's going to say FAR 1. And it's going to tell you how many modules, subchapters there are. There were 8. So the first thing I did is I put a little tab to show me how far I had in this chapter. So as you can see, this first chapter was not that long. If you turn the page, you'll see that you have FAR chapter 1, module 1 at the bottom. So that's kind of what they mean when they say module. I call it a subchapter. So I first would read and make notes in my book. I don't have time to use a highlighter. I'm not a highlighting person. I prefer a pencil, and I also prefer little stickies like this. I use these small ones when it's something I absolutely knew I had to go back to because I needed more help on that. Okay, so FAR 1 for me was all about the financial accounting standards. You know, what are the names of the committees? It was a lot of stuff that I did not memorize up until now, but now once I'm studying for the CPA exam, I had to memorize these items, including the, you know, Financial Accounting Standards Board and what they do, different committees, who created this, who created that. It's called the Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting. These things are important. They are important, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, this first chapter is important. So you can see in my book, I've circled and made notes. I also made notes where I could take this with me in the car. It's just like a manila folder that's, you know, better than a piece of paper in my opinion. So I made notes on here so that if I'm at lunch or on my break at work, I could easily pull these out and start studying. Okay, especially the most important items that I knew I needed more help on. So that's the first thing I did, was read the material and make notes. Now, if this material is something you already know, then you don't have to read every single sentence. Just graze through there. And you don't have to watch all the videos, guys. In the videos, they're just reading it. So if you're someone who really hates reading, then okay, you can do the videos. But if you can read it on your own, it sinks in, you can make notes while you're doing it, then I suggest that. I listen to videos when I was driving a lot. So I would download a chapter / subchapter, whatever I had room for on my tablet. I would download it from the Becker Review app on the tablet. And I could actually listen to that while I was driving an hour and 10 minutes to work. So that was very helpful to have stuff going into my ears. The next thing I would do is at the end of each subchapter module, there are some examples to look at, and you may even have like a little question, an MCQ, which is a multiple choice question with a number beside of it. So I would do these quickly because these don't take a lot of time to do. So I would do that, and then at the back of the book is the answer key. So you could check your answer to see if you got it right. Now, there are some other things at the back of the book, and I'll show you. So the last little bit of the book in the back, this much of it, are answers for the MCQs, and there's something called a blueprint. Now, if you've looked on the AICPA website, and you've already started doing a little bit of investigation, you'll see that they give a blueprint for the CPA exam, and it's based on whatever discipline you're doing. So, for example, this is the blueprint for FAR, and it'll tell you the concept, and if that concept is going to be a skill that you need to learn how to do, or if it's just going to be remembering, meaning it's probably going to be like a definition style question, and you just need to remember what that concept is. So this was kind of helpful. I will say that the blueprints get very long, so I wouldn't say that I would spend that much time on it. I did glance at mine, and if I was having a hard time on a subject, I would look at the blueprint to see if it was going to be a skill or if it was just going to be a general definition or something in that nature. So that's another tip. When I would complete each sub-chapter or module, I would go onto the review material either on my computer or my app and look at the multiple choice questions. At first I started doing all of them, but it's so time consuming because their multiple choice questions aren't just definitions. Some of them are, but a lot of them are actual problems that are going to take you a good 15, 20, 30 minutes on some of these problems to get through. So once I recognized that, I'm like, there's no way I can sit there and do every single sub-chapter or module, all the multiple choice questions, and all the simulations. Like, I'm never going to absorb this in this fashion. So what I would do is, if it was a question that I know I could try to answer fast, then I would try to do that. If it was one that was going to take a lot longer, I would just open the answer key and see how they came up with the answer. And if that made sense to me, okay, I can move on. Because that question that the review material is giving you is not going to be on the exam. That's just an example of what one could look like. Okay? That's not going to be on your exam. So it doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. These are just for practice. Now the simulations, I started out doing them and it was taking so long. I'm like, why am I doing this? This is not going to be on the exam. It's going to be maybe one that's similar. So really, I just need to learn how to open the attachments that are given and, read the type of question that it is, because Becker does do a good job at showing you how the question's going to read during your exam. So I would do those things. I would open the attachments. I would do some of the questions, and then if it was taking too long, I'm going to open the answer key. And sometimes they have a video also that will show you how to get the answer. But do you need to do every single one of those? No, you do not. Get familiar with how a simulation works. Be comfortable with that. Okay? So once that's done, then I would go on to my next sub-chapter. So I would try to do a few sub-chapters a night or during the day if I had time during my lunch break. And then on the weekends, I would really get into it, guys. I would do, I would try to get through a whole module or 2 modules during the weekend and set time aside for items that were giving me trouble, like things that I never heard of before, a lot of government accounting and nonprofit, which I had not done a lot of that. So I spent a little bit more time on that, and I was glad that I did. So those sections I would make more notes. One of the biggest things is flashcards. So Becker has very good flashcards in their review material, and you can even put it on your cell phone. So if you're out to eat and you're waiting for your table to be called, you can scroll through the flashcards. You can have your husband or wife ask you flashcard questions. And that's kind of fun. you know, at least you're not sitting there playing a game or scrolling through the internet. You're actually retaining. So you have to keep it going. Don't stop. Don't stop for 3 days and say, I need a 3-day vacation and then I'll start back up. No. Keep it continuously going into your brain. And I also made some of my own flashcards, especially for the mnemonics that you'll learn. And I would keep them with me also. So flashcards is a really good thing. And then one last thing I want to talk about is the sample test that the AICPA gives you on their website. It's a sample of some of the questions from the actual exam from the past. And they update that like every year. The one that's on there now is from July 2023. So that's the one you want to go on to the AICPA website, search for practice test, and you're going to print it, download it, and do those. I suggest you do those because that gives you the exact way a question is going to be asked to you. And it could even be a question that's very similar to the one that they're giving you on that practice test. They could just switch up a few words. They could, you know, give you a question that's very similar to that because it's a topic that they are testing because they've tested it in the past. So they're going to keep testing it unless it goes outdated. So I suggest you do that for sure. Do every single one of those, and then if you're not sure about the answer or how they got the answer, you need to look it up and find out. So to me, that was very valuable, and I probably didn't even do that until I started studying my second book because I didn't realize it was there. But once I did, you know, I thought it was helpful. So if you guys have any other suggestions that can help anyone that's currently taking the CPA exam, please leave them in the comments and we could all help each other. Now, like I said, you're going to have to get over the fact that there's so much material in FAR, and don't let it consume you. Don't try to memorize how to do every single thing, okay? Financial statements are important, yes. The FASB is important, yes. How to do a journal entry, how to do adjusting journal entries, how to do bank reconciliations, how to make a prior period adjustment, how to do government accounting and what are the accounts used for that. Nonprofit accounting, they're named different and financial statements are named differently. You need to know which financial statements they use and what they're called. And this is all normal stuff that you're going to go through if you have a job either in regular accounting, governmental accounting, or nonprofit accounting. So it's going to be helpful. You know, I would suggest keeping this book forever because I'm going to keep it forever. It's already helped me. I've already looked up like 3 or 4 things from my current job in this book that I couldn't remember, and I knew it existed because I had in my head, that sounds familiar. I know I've seen that before, and I've looked back and I've used this for reference. So don't throw these away, okay? If you are done with the exam, keep these books, please. So like I said, I'll try to film more videos like this. I hope this was helpful, and good luck to you all. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you want more videos like this. Thank you.